Street Fighter's main female heroine, Chun-Li, is an expert martial artist and devoted Interpol officer. Out of all of the Street Fighter characters, Chun-Li has the most iconic attire, recognized by the video game and manga communities from all around the world. But what is her attire? Where does it come from? Where do the creators of Chun-Li's iconic attire get the inspiration from? In this episode of the Street Fighterverse, we will talk about the name of Chun-Li's dress, we will discuss its history and legacy, and we'll discuss the origins of the creation of Chun-Li's attire, described by her creator, Akira Akiman Yasuda. So, let me welcome you to another episode of the Street Fighterverse. Chun-Li's attire is known as the Shangsham, also known as the Shibao. Both terms describe the type of tight-fitting Chinese dress worn by women. The term Shangsham is a romanization of the Cantonese word Shangshen, which means long shirt or dress. Shangsham comes from the Shanghainese term zanze. Both Cantonese and the Shanghainese terms were used to describe the Chinese dress, which was made popular in the region of Shanghai. In Mandarin Chinese and other varieties of Chinese or Chinese dialects, Changshan is the male equivalent to a dress-only male garment, while the female version is known as the Shibao, which translated means banner robe. Many Shanghainese tailors during that time fled to Hong Kong after the Communist Revolution in 1943. The word Shangsham became used by both female and male clothing, the male version of the Shangsham being called the Shangshan and the female version of the attire called Qibao. The word Qibao became the more formal way to describe the female Chinese dress. To know the origins of Chun-Li's Qibao, we must go back to the origins of the Manchu people in China. The Manchus are Tungusic people, meaning from Tunguska, a region which is located next to Siberia. They were rulers of China during the Qing dynasty, which was the final imperial dynasty in China, and lasted from 1644 to 1912. The Manchus used an administrative decision called the Eight Banner System, in which was an administrative and military division in where all Manchu households were placed. In war, the Eight Banners functioned as armies, but the banner system was also the basic organizational framework of all Manchu society. Originally, the Manchus were the only ones organized by the Eight Banner System. As time passed by, the Mongols and the Han Chinese united under this system as well. Anyone living under the Eight Banner System would wear different clothing from ordinary day to day civilians. These people became known as the Banner People, also known as the Shi-Ren. The clothing that they used under the banner system were long robes designed for both men and women. These long robes of garment made for women and men were called the Shangbao. Under this rule, there were laws that would sanction Han Chinese, who did not use this style of attire. However, in later time, the order for regular non-banner civilians to wear Manchu clothing was lifted, and only those who served as officials or scholars were required to wear them. Over time, Han Chinese adopted the use of Shangshans. By the ends of the Qing dynasty, not only officials and scholars, but the majority of Han Chinese wore Manchu attire. For women, the Manchu style of clothing and hand style lived in harmony through the Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty finally came to an end in 1911. After that came the Republic of China, and along with it, reform and increased education for women. Female students ditched the heavy banner robes and began wearing a modified version of the attire. The original Shibao fitted loosely and hung in an A line. It covered most of the wearer's body, revealing only the heads, hands, and the tip of the toes. The baggy clothing also served to conceal the figure of the wearer, regardless of age. The version seen as the typical Shangsham in China today was popularized by the celebrities, socialites, and politicians of the time in Shanghai, from the 1920s to the 1940s. Former First Lady of China, Madame Wellington Koo, was a prominent figure among them. Voted several times by Vogue into its list of the world's best dressed women, Madame Wellington Koo was much admired for her adaptations to the traditional Manchu fashion, which she wore with lace trousers and jade necklaces. Cheongsam dresses at the time had been decorously slit a few inches up the sides, but Madame Koo slashed hers to the knee, with lace pantalettes just visible to the ankle. Unlike other Asian socialites, Madame Koo also insisted on local Chinese silks, which she thought were of superior quality. When stockings were introduced in Shanghai in the 1930s, things changed again. With the introduction of Western fashion during the Nanjing decade, many people replaced trousers with stockings. The side slits were repurposed into aesthetic design, reaching top of thigh to reflect new fashion trends. While an ancient city, Shanghai only gained international attention in the mid-19th century, when the Treaty of Nanking opened up as a treaty port. By the 1920s and the 30s, it had become a hotbed of fashion and style. By the 1940s, trousers had completely fallen out of use, replaced by different types of hosiery. High-heeled shoes were another fashion trend introduced to Shanghai at the same time, and it became an essential part of the Cheongsam fashion set, which continued into modern day. The modernized version of Cheongsam is noted for accentuating the figures of women, and was also popular as a dress for high society. As Western fashions evolved, so did the Cheongsam design, with the introduction of the high-neck sleeveless dress, bell-like sleeves, and the black lace frolling at the hem of a ball gown. By the 1940s, Cheongsam came in a wide variety of fabrics, with an equal variety of accessories. The 1949 Communist Revolution derailed the popularity of the Cheongsam and other fashions in Shanghai, but the Shanghainese immigrants and refugees brought the fashion to Hong Kong and Taiwan, where it has remained popular. Recently, there has been a revival of the Shanghainese Cheongsam in Shanghai and elsewhere in mainland China. The Shanghainese style functions now mostly as a stylish party dress. Creator of Chun-Li, Akira Akimang Yasuda, describes in the first stages of her design that pants were appropriate for her attire, for her kung fu style of fighting. But they ran into troubles when in the early stages of programming, the pants didn't fit in with the character. Akimang describes it as lacking intensity, and I quote, "If it lacks impact once translated into pixels, it becomes meaningless." After several tries, they figured out that changing the pants to tights was the best way to go, thus creating the final form of Chun-Li's attire. It's great to learn about all the history behind the art of Chun-Li's Shipao dress. The Shipao dress uniqueness gave the first female Street Fighter her iconic look. In this episode of the Street Fighterverse, we talked about Chun-Li's Shipao. We talked about the history, legacy, and the evolution of the Cheongsam, and discussed the origins of the creation of Chun-Li's attire, described by her creator Akira Akimang Yasuda. So, what do you think about Chun-Li's attire? What do you like about the history behind the Shipao? Let us know in the comment section down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on our new releases of the Street Fighterverse. Welcome to the center stage.